So when I was a kid, playing on the banks of the river, and it was a golf course, and so you'd always look for golf balls. And we knew as kids how dirty the Flint River was, how contaminated the Flint River was. You always had this hesitation, do I really want to put my hands in the Flint River? And to get to that point, to the point where some government bureaucrat decides, hey, I got a great idea. Let's save some money by using the Flint River as the water source. How someone came to that conclusion baffles me to this day.
We knew from the bat, if you're from Flint, you knew off the bat that that was not a good decision. You knew from the history of General Motors and all of the pollution that has gone into that river. So you knew in 2014 it was a bad idea, but they did it anyway. And as soon as they did it, the visible signs were there and they were clear. We started seeing the discoloration. We started experiencing the rashes. Some people experienced this hair loss, and some people really got violently sick from the switch.
General Motors started in Flint. Unions were born in Flint. Industry and unions were the beginning of the American dream. It was the first time where somebody who was a working class Joe citizen could get a job, go to work every day, buy a house, own a car, and afford to send your kids to college.
Flint was in the top 5 in the country in per capita income, and it's not because they had a bunch of wealthy millionaires. It's because the middle class that built this country and built the automobile industry was so strong in Flint. It clearly has deteriorated from that point to the point that we're at today.
So the people that have stayed here are the people who are here out of some profound commitment, or the people who economically don't have other options. And the few people that have held on here that had that, now the thing that they had has almost no value. Their home has no value. The jobs don't exist. This is the legacy that's being left.
Well, I teamed up with a few other lawyers who had already filed, I think, the first Flint water case, and it pained me to see the people in that community, the people I went to high school with, confronting what they were confronting. So I had a real interest in contributing any way I could.
So Paul Novak and I worked at the Attorney General's office at the same time. Paul was certainly there longer than I was there, but when Paul became aware of the fact that I was interested in being a part of this litigation team, he expressed to the team that they should reach out to me and have a conversation. Having worked in government at the highest level of state government, having been the coordinator for the governor for emergency management and crisis situations, I just don't understand how anybody in a position like that could turn their backs on the people they serve. That's been the toughest part for me. And once we look at documents and emails and we see the cover-up and we see the lack of concern about people's lives, it just, to me, is almost unbelievable.
People are damaged. They're traumatized. I think a lack of good data and good information has made the problem even worse. People want to know. They want to know, has the system and the pipes that deliver water to my home, have they been replaced? Where's the data on the results from the system-wide and city-wide testing that we were told was going to be done?
My wife grew up in Troy, Michigan, which is just down the road from here. Her father was in the car industry and made his living with the car industry, and so Flint was always in my awareness, and my wife would go on and on about friends and family that lived here in Flint and the tragedy of just having the car manufacturers move out, and that whole industry shifted and this became such a destitute area, and the people were just hammered again and again and again. And so when the water crisis happened and we saw it happening on TV, we were both just struck by the people that are already down and out getting hammered yet again by another crisis. I've told this story a few times. We were on the phone and a woman had just lost her dog because he had been drinking the lead water, and it wasn't a nice way for her dog to die. And on the phone call, she started crying because she was pregnant. And she realized she was drinking the water at the same time, and her dog had just died, and she had a fetus inside of her that she had no idea how it would be affected. And for us, we were all in. We were just gonna do whatever we had to do. If we got no money out of it ever, we would do it.
Now we're going to have Pastor Monica. About a warrior for you guys. She is a warrior for you.
So in 2015 here at Salem Lutheran Church, we began noticing a lot of discoloration in the water that we had at the church. We have galvanized iron pipe throughout the entire facility. And that really what we were seeing in these water bottles was a lot of the corrosion from the water pipes. The iron would corrode and then end up in the water. One of the things we learned through that process is that galvanized iron pipe actually absorbs lead. When the corrosive water, or the water from the Flint River that was not properly treated with anti-corrosion control, was flowing throughout the water system, it began eating the pipes here at the church. And we had several pipes that just burst. They corroded so badly that joints on the pipes would actually begin leaking, and the pressure in the water system would just blow them apart.
And so imagine you wake up, you get up a little bit late, you're sort of rushing. There's like this much, very small amount of water left in the bottle that you have on the bathroom sink. And you say, I'll just use the tap water, it's just a little bit. And then you have to put a little bit in your hand to sort of, rinse your mouth out. And then later in the day, your gums are itchy. And you just question, is that because I use the tap water? And then you just don't know.
I try not to use the water. However, it's hard to get around. We have to bathe, we have to brush our teeth, and we just do so without even thinking twice.
So it now has become something that dictates people's lives. And it's unfortunate because having to live that way is a constant reminder of the injustice that was done here.
And so fighting for their rights, fighting for their, day in court is a huge thing for us. I mean, in our world, in the discovery world, we get a lot of calls on Christmas Eve. We get a lot of calls on Thanksgiving. There's a big, huge issue. We all need to, be working 24 hours a day for the next 5 days. And I would turn to my team and I'd say, no, we can go get some sleep. We're not saving lives. But this case is different because there are lives being saved here. And for us, it's a very emotional thing, and we want to be able to do whatever we can to help these people.
What happened in Flint, this is going to be the thing that keeps on giving. There are changes that actually happen under the skin. The field is called epigenetics, that happen as a function of exposure to lead and other environmental toxins. You actually can pass that risk on to your offspring. So we are now going to be looking at multi-generational and intergenerational transferal of risk that came out of exposure during the Flint water crisis.
He called it 3 times on the table. So he, kids suffer. They deal with, the learning part of it. They're dealing with the all medical part of it. They're dealing with the speech, which he has a problem with now. And it's just a whole lot of stuff that they have to deal with, and that's going to be, as they're growing up, that they have to deal with it.
This is not trivial. All parents want the same thing for their kids. Poor parents, rich parents, white parents, black parents, all we want is the best for our children. We want them to have every opportunity available to them in the world. And there are a lot of people in Flint who are grappling with and dealing with the shame and the disappointment that they gave something to their children that is going to have a profound impact on their health and their growth and their development for the rest of their lives.
We have a couple of goals, right? We want them to be able to get to court with the information they're entitled to have. We want to be able to have them represent themselves with their information in a way that best serves them. The government of Michigan had put up at the result of because of a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information request, whatever the equivalent is in Michigan, PDFs that were thousands and thousands and thousands of pages long. And they were, groups of documents, emails, Word documents, test reports, and they just put them up on the internet and made them available to everyone. And our legal team at that point was trying to just get their hands around what the facts were. They had a high burden to even be able to bring the case on behalf of the people affected by the crisis. And so we loaded it all up for free. We made recommendations, so we took all of the PDFs and we made them individual pages. We recognized the text in them, so at the very, very minimum, they could start searching the documents, which was a godsend for them because they could find good information, bring up things to the court that the court might not have been aware of. It was a good result for our legal team, but even the government got access to the database because they were hamstrung by what they had been given by their own departments. So part of the government of Michigan was having to investigate the other part, right, of the government. And so one department or one group would give the documents to the other group, and the other group had the similar problems, all these thousands of pages of PDFs. So we gave them access as well, the Attorney General's office, and they could get in and do the searches and start coding documents and get access to what they needed to do their job, which is, on the behalf of the people of Flint as well.
It is hard to help a community see that we're fighting a battle for 5-10 years down the road when they can't drink water at their tap today.
They probably don't really know who to trust. And that's something that's going to take a long time to rebuild.
How do you build that trust? How does that come about or play out?
You do it with a lot of time. And so you take the time to reassure, you take the time to explain. We've had calls where we would normally spend a half hour with a custodian span 2 or 3 days. We've had times where we've had to fly in here and speak to people face to face because that would just build their trust a little bit more, and the effort was there. And I think people appreciate the effort because they know it's a lot of time and effort to just get to Flint and talk with them and work around their schedules. So we've done a lot of collections on weekends and at night, which we normally don't have to do. And I think people appreciate that and over time can see what we're doing is helping them.
I think that the most important thing, number one, is that it plays out in a manner where the integrity of folks and the dignity of folks is recognized. To reconfirm the basic notion that every person has dignity and every person in the city of Flint should be treated with dignity. Flint has always had a certain fighting aspect to it, a certain aspect about people's attitudes and personalities, I think a toughness to it, that have made the people who live there very resilient.
We've been poisoned, we've been harmed, but this is my home, and I'm staying.
I hate that it had to come to the point where it did end up taking the lives of people who reside here. However, the ones that are left, we just have to make the difference within a community. We have to stand up for ourselves, and we have to continue to live our daily lives.
So seeing a smile on his face, you know, seeing him grow and grow through all of this, it motivates me. You sleepy still?
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you for all the hard work you've been doing, and I appreciate you all so much. I appreciate everybody in this room that hasn't forgotten about us, and I love you all, and God bless, okay?
Thank you, Christina.